This is the web series For the Love of BIM, promoting Barbados, everything Beijing Canadian, and everything Canadian Beijing. Hi, welcome to Season 3, Episode 6 in the web series For the Love of BIM. I am your host, Sonia Marvel Carter. As summer is quickly winding down, I thought I should get at least one recording on the outside. But it's actually a little chilly today, so we'll see how it goes. Today continues the exciting series where we focus on education opportunities in Canada and chat with Dr. Monetta Bailey, who is an associate professor in Calgary, Alberta. And as we are on the topic of education and professors, we are also reminding all of you students here in Canada or those coming to Canada to register with the Barbados Consulate using the new registration form. The link for the form is in the description of this video, or you can use the QR code seen here. Did you know that EduCanada lists this as one of the top reasons to study in Canada? And it says, "We're proud to say that the warm and friendly stereotype about Canadians is true. When you come to Canada, you'll find a welcoming country with a unique Canadian culture that embraces diversity. From urban centres to small towns, Canada is considered one of the safest countries in the world for international students." Now, on to our feature for today. Hi, Monetta. Welcome to For the Love of BIM. And I am just going to get right to the chase. So introduce yourself, let the viewers know who you are.
Oh, hi, Sonia. Thank you for having me. My name is Monetta Bailey. I am of Barbados descent, actually born in Barbados, migrated to Canada at age 11. So that's getting up there now. That's a few decades ago at this point. I am currently an associate professor of sociology at Ambrose University in Calgary, Alberta. By way of Barbados to Edmonton and now in Calgary, calling Calgary home.
Tell us, Monetta, what is your area of specialty?
So I teach sociology predominantly, but sociology is a very broad discipline. My area of specialty began specifically looking at criminology, particularly youth crime. In between my degrees, I worked in the sector working with youth, young offenders, working in the youth crime area. And so that's kind of my broad area. What I tend to do and what my research focuses on is looking at how the issues such as race, ethnicity, immigrant status, how all of these things intersect with our criminal justice system, particularly in Canada. And this is an interesting thing that we highlight Canada because a lot of the literature, especially when I got into this field, a lot of the literature was coming from the US, was coming from the UK. We had very little literature looking at these intersections of race and ethnicity and the justice system in Canada. So I give it a very Canadian lens, and even more finite, I give it a Western Canadian lens because initial research, a lot of it came out of areas like Toronto and Halifax and Montreal. But considering that we're living on the prairies, which is increasingly getting diverse, we have a lot of individuals of variant ethnicities migrating to the prairies. And so this takes on a different, a different tone when we're looking specifically at the intersection of these variables with the justice system here. Well, I mean, ideally, and I think most researchers, especially researchers in areas such as sociology or political science or the legal system, most researchers would love their research to impact the actual function of the criminal justice system. And ideally, I would like my research to be taken up by practitioners. And like I said, I have a foot in the door in working in this area. So I would like the research to be taken up by practitioners, policymakers, and integrate these findings into how we structure our criminal justice system. One of my most recent publications focuses on looking at immigrant youth. So it's a very diverse group of racialized immigrant youth and their experiences in the justice system, particularly our extrajudicial sanctions or alternative measures. So not the court system, but alternative measures. And, I would love for some of those findings to be implemented in how we actually interact with racialized youth within these programs, because what we saw and what a number of other researchers have seen is that when we look at this particular population, their experiences differ quite significantly from Canadian-born youth. So ideally, like the research to inform practice in Canada.
How do you think somebody coming to Canada from the West Indies, how do you think that they would be able to what they have experienced could help shape what's happening on the political landscape and the judicial landscape in Canada?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I can see that impacting it on multiple levels. So the first is, I do this. I have a couple colleagues, one from MRU and one from the USC, who, when we're doing research, we do what we call either participant observation research or we're doing interviews. So there's always a call for people to participate and tell their story. And that is so important from the research perspective, because we want to know what is actually happening in the lives of individuals. And so, some people, we will use social media and other outlets to kind of have a call for participants. And so when people see this, see these calls, I encourage you to participate. And that's just a plug, because I'll be having one out there shortly. But other things are, it's when you enter into a society, you bring a unique lens. You're able to see things that are normal in that society that people living in that society might not see, might not pick up on. And so when people migrate from the Caribbean or when they migrate from other areas, they're given a new unique perspective as they try to integrate into the society. And they have a unique lens that they can just then call things out, right? Like you can raise certain issues. You can even question. So why is it that this is a practice in Canada? Why is it that there are no, I'm a migrant immigrant to Canada who speaks a specific language, and I go to receive a service and there's no one there for me to communicate? Why are these things set up the way they are? And so you can call these things out. And I mean, you can call it out if you're thinking about shaping the political landscape, call it out to your politicians. And I know, once again, it takes a while to be comfortable doing these things. But also if you're participating in research, or if you are just integrating or interacting with other members of the society, start to bring these topics to the forefront. We've seen this happen recently as we've been calling out a lot of interactions with the criminal justice system and different racialized groups. And this is causing the landscape and the discussions to change. And a lot of this is because people are bringing their lens into a situation that we probably might not even notice when we're so ingrained in that situation.
Monetta, there's two other questions I'm going to ask you. One is, what is the scope, do you think, for West Indians? And in this particular case, we're talking Barbadians coming to Calgary, because a lot of people, especially in Barbados, they hear Canada and they automatically think Toronto. So in Calgary, tell us, what is the landscape in Calgary? Why should a Barbadian come to study in Calgary instead of going to Toronto or somewhere else?
I mean, that's a great question. A question that we asked our parents when they moved us to Calgary or to Edmonton 30 years ago. And we're like, why here? I would say this: the landscape has changed quite significantly in the time that I've been in Alberta. And so we've seen more people migrate here from all over the Caribbean, but from Barbados specifically. And so this just brings a new flavor to what it means to live here in Alberta. Of course, it is great for us with Barbadian heritage, because there are, more people that we can associate with. But I think it's also, we're seeing things such as, our festivals, and we always go to festivals and food, right? The two things. But as we're seeing more people move here, the landscape is changing in terms of what is accessible to individuals. For Calgary and Edmonton's, we both have Barbados associations, Barbados-Canadian associations, different variations. And so there's that opportunity to interact with people where we share heritage, but a part of our mandate for both organizations is to bring our culture to the larger society. And so, I mean, that is quintessentially what Canada, what we like to think we're about, at least, is how we can integrate all of these different ethnic experiences and all of these different cultures into one mosaic and share culture. So things are changing, we're diversifying, and in terms of the economy and opportunities, there's always opportunities there for people migrating from the Caribbean and from Barbados specifically.
And the last thing I'm going to ask you, it was a good segue into it because you mentioned the Barbadian Association. So tell us a little bit about your role in the Barbadian Associations it's specifically in Calgary.
Yes. So I have been on the an executive member of the Barbados Association. So called the Barbados-Canadian Association of Calgary. I always have to think about that. I've been an executive member for about the last 10 years. I was the president for the last few years. And I don't know if you know this, Sonia, but we just had an election and I stepped down from the presidency. Just work got a little bit hectic. And I'm still involved, still vice president, but we have a new president of our association here in Calgary, Tracy Donnell. And so, what we've been doing, like everything else, has taken a hit due to COVID. But traditionally, we have a few festivals or a few events, every year, including our independence event, but something in the summer. We spread it out during the year. We have some educational programs. Last year, we put on a virtual show for our independence celebration, where we had star artists from Barbados perform, and it was very well received. And the nice thing about our association here is we work very closely with other associations, other West Indian associations in Calgary. And so it's a very nice synergy that we have with these associations. And, like I said, COVID has really impacted how we function and the things we do, because a lot of what we do is in person and socializing. And like with a lot of cultural associations, that's been impacted, but we're so looking forward to when we can start to meet up again. And we're slowly doing it, but looking forward to when we can start to meet up again.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Now you see what making good use of all opportunities presented to you looks like, where you can make a difference by researching and bringing attention and solutions to any practices which disadvantage a particular group of people. Now to the birthday and anniversary shout-outs.
This is your day. This is your day. This is your day. This is your day. Happy birthday to you. May all your wishes come true, my darling. Happy birthday to you. Long life's the dreams and no jobs and blessings. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. You have a nice day.
Congratulations to all celebrants, and a special congratulations goes to Jason and Jaquita. It seems like only yesterday, 3 years already. Wow. Now, before I sign off for today, did you know that Canada gifted Barbados 30,000 doses of AstraZeneca early this week? Yup, they sure did. Canada and Barbados have enjoyed great relations over the years, from as far back as the 17th century, when we traded in rum and codfish, right through Canada setting up a trading commission service in Bridgetown in 1907, through to our formalizing the relationship in 1966 when Barbados became independent, and all of the myriad of exchanges, collaborations, migration of our citizens on both sides, education opportunities also on both sides, and cooperation between our two Commonwealth nations over the past many years. So on behalf of the people of Barbados, I say, thanks, Canada. Well, that's all the time we have, folks. So I want to remind you, adhere to the protocols, do your part to stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Until then, see you next week.
Planet, we set the love the
have been watching For the Love of BIM.